Conservatives are set to vote this week on a new bill that has been tabled to end or at least pause the carbon taxes in Canada on home heating. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. And you're having a wonderful Monday morning, as wonderful as it can be being a Monday. I wanted to talk a little bit about this conservative motion that's coming out this week, and the vote that's going to be happening in the House of Commons. There's a reason I feel that this vote is very important, and we've talked about this to great length on the channel. And not only have we talked about it to great length, but it's also going to be a change in politics. As we look at Justin Trudeau's tenure as Prime Minister, and as we look at everything that's gone on, and people keep saying he's like Teflon, he skates from everything, there was a critical error made when announcing the pause on carbon tax in the East for heating oil. And the error there, and the reason that I believe Justin Trudeau isn't going to skate on this one, I'm going to get a little bit more into in this video. But I wanted to share this article that's come out from the CBC. And again, I know a lot of people have issues with the CBC. I like getting... We all know what the real facts are, and I always like to showcase these articles simply because I like to see the other side and just how much they're pushing for a certain narrative. But it came to light that the NDP planned a plan to back the Conservative motion calling for a carbon tax pause on all home heating fuels. Now, the reason for this is there is insurmountable pressure coming from all provinces after that announcement. We see provinces like Saskatchewan with Scott Moe saying that they'll refuse to continue to collect carbon taxes come January 1st if something isn't done. We've seen Danielle Smith calling out very aggressively that something needs to be done, that even though Alberta's energy resources aren't a crown corporation, there still needs to be something done. We've seen BC's premier come out talking about it. We've seen even the biggest grifters of all, like Doug Ford, coming out saying, hey, just get rid of the whole thing altogether. And I couldn't agree more with Doug Ford on that one. Never thought I'd see the day that happens. But what we're seeing here is increasing pressure on the Liberals. And the reason for it, I'm going to get a little bit more into after we finish this article. I just wanted to touch base on them supporting the motion. New Democrats are planning to vote in favor of a Conservative motion to exempt all home heating fuels from the federal carbon tax. The panicked reaction of Liberals a few days ago, it seemed to be tied to electoral chances more than anything else, the party's House leader, Peter Julian, said on Thursday. The Liberals have been facing increasing political pressure to extend a carbon tax exemption to fuels such as natural gas, which I will remind you are cleaner than heating oil, and propane, after announcing a 3-year exemption from home heating oil last week. The government has said in its pause is meant to give Canadians who use their oil to heat their homes more time to switch to subsidized electric heat pumps. Now, the heat pumps, the funny thing about heat pumps, and part of the reason that a lot of people out west won't upgrade or I guess downgrade to heat pumps from natural gas, the heat pumps emit more carbon. And for a prime minister who wants to talk about getting down to zero emission rates, well, those heat pumps are going to cause massive issues in terms of CO2 emissions. So I'm not sure where the hypocrisy is in that. We could get a little bit more into that as to where it's tied between Trane Technologies and other groups that are interested in getting kickbacks for these heat pumps. But at the end of the day, folks, it's a moot point because natural gas is cleaner than than the heating oil or heat pumps, and we're being taxed more for it. Julian had said that the decision provoked confusion and chaos by pitting one region against the other. Couldn't agree more. While the exemption for home heating oil applies across the country, its effects will be most felt in Atlantic Canada. In Newfoundland and Labrador, almost 1 in 5 households use home heating oil. 2 in 5 Prince Edward Island households use that, and 1 in 3 Nova Scotia households are heated with furnace oil. In New Brunswick, 1 in about every 14 households use home heating oil. So again, as you see, as it moves a little bit more west, even out from that east coast, fewer and fewer use that form of heating. The text of the motion calls on the House of Commons to apply a tax break to, quote, all forms of home heating. The House will vote on the non-binding motion on Monday. So this week. Julian said that by supporting the Conservative motion, the NDP is calling on the government to help all Canadians who are struggling with affordability issues. The decision has been made. It's a bad one. How do we make it equitable so that everybody can afford to heat their homes this winter, Julian said, adding that the NDP plans to push the government further on climate action in other ways. We've heard Pierre Poilievre talking about that. I've even heard Danielle Smith saying that there's nothing wrong with being green. It's just we have to develop our technologies, not tax our citizens. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has accused the Liberals of creating two classes of Canadians by exempting home heating oil and not other fuels. Poilievre said Wednesday that it's a compromise meant to allow Canadians to vote on the issue in the next election. Earlier this week, he also said Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has turned the carbon tax into, quote, the issue of the next election. During Thursday's question period, he pushed Trudeau to make the motion on a confidence vote. Will Trudeau confirm whether or not he considers my motion a confidence vote, Poilievre said. The NDP has an agreement to support the Liberals on confidence votes in exchange for a commitment to act on key NDP priorities. This agreement is also set to remain in place until 2025. Julian insisted the motion won't be a confidence vote and said he's concerned about being aligned with the Conservatives on this issue. The motion is about affordability, he said. It's, for one, not a crazy climate-denying motion. It just refers to equity. So this is where I wanted to get into why this vote is so important and the strategy behind what the Conservatives are doing and why I think that this is the end of Justin Trudeau and his taxes on carbon. The biggest mistake Justin Trudeau made was allowing this pause. We've seen that with Premier Scott Moe, who said that when the carbon tax was formed, it was declared that all provinces would pay their equal share. So by Justin Trudeau allowing a pause on one part of the country or one form of that carbon-emitting fuel, it basically makes the rest of that agreement moot, which is part of the reason why premiers like Scott Moe have said, my Crown Corporation is going to stop collecting carbon tax. But the biggest mistake is for Justin Trudeau to put that pause on because it shows that this tax is nothing more than what we've all called it from day one, and that's a money grab. We hear about billion-dollar slush funds. We hear about all the money that's padding people's pockets that are Liberal supporters and Liberal grifters, as I call them. But now what's happened, and the reason I think this is the end of Trudeau, and hey, call me out if I'm wrong in the comments, is you now see the NDP starting to support the Conservatives. Why? Well, because NDP voters, as well as Liberal voters, are upset because they can't afford to heat their homes any more than Conservative voters can. Jagmeet Singh can stand behind Justin Trudeau all he wants at this point. The problem is that while he's out of a job come next election, he'll get his pension. Anybody in the NDP party who is new to this job, who maybe got in on the last election while NDP grabbed some seats, they might see they have a very short-lived career if they stand behind these votes, if they stand behind supporting the Liberals at a time when the ship is sinking and the rats are jumping off, so to speak. I think they're starting to see the writing on the wall based on pushback from their constituents that we the people have shown enough when it comes to what's fair to ride the backs of these representatives enough to get them to realize that their jobs are now at stake. I think you may even see some of these NDPs, if it got bad enough, I'm not calling it, but you may see some of them cross the floor. It certainly isn't unheard of. We've seen it happen before in politics. But I think that anybody who's trying to hang on to their job is essentially siding with the Conservatives at this point. And what Pierre Poilievre has done by asking for this vote has basically sealed the fate of anybody who wants to support the carbon tax. It's very obvious at this point that that money is not going into green technologies. It's not going to make the environment better. It's nothing more than a, quote, slush fund to pad the pockets of Liberals and get people rich. So anybody who votes in favor of keeping the carbon tax is essentially sealing their fate. Voters are pissed, and they're not going to put up with any more of these shenanigans by the looks of it. So I think they're all starting to see the numbers or the writing on the wall. Again, I would push that the carbon tax should be paused altogether. We know that Pierre has firm intentions of getting rid of the carbon tax if elected Prime Minister of Canada, but any pause at this point is welcome. I know in Calgary, the level of carbon tax that's paid on home heating is unfathomable. It's ridiculous. It adds so much to our bills. I can't imagine what it is across the country, because Alberta is one of the fewest tax provinces in Canada. So I don't know what I don't know what the NDP is going to do at this point. Again, we'll have to see later today where they stand on the vote, if they back the Conservatives, and what that leads to moving forward. But the Liberal castle, the House of Cards, is starting to fall. And I mean, NDP even here calling for the removal of GST on home heating. So they're not even done. Not just with carbon tax. The federal carbon tax applies in provinces and territories that don't have carbon pricing systems that Ottawa considers sufficient to lower greenhouse gas emissions. Julian said removing the GST from home heating fuels would be a more equitable solution, because it would give Canadians a break in provinces like Quebec and BC, where the federal carbon levy doesn't apply. He criticized the Conservatives for not playing ball and tagging the GST into their motion. We continue to be adults in the room, he said. No, you don't. Last week, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith called on Ottawa to apply the same exemptions to natural gas, which is used by the majority of residents in their provinces for heating. So again, natural gas is cheaper to produce, especially when you look at things like liquid natural gas. It's cleaner, way cleaner, easier to transport, less emitting than heating oils. So this is, again, where if a prime minister wants to preach about less emissions, you think he'd be promoting, instead of heat pumps, he'd be saying we need LNG lines, we need to deliver natural gas across the country. And while it's not the be-all, end-all, it certainly is better than what we're currently looking at if we want to reduce our emissions. On Monday, Moe upped the ante by declaring that Sask Energy, the provincial crown corporation responsible for natural gas distribution, wouldn't collect carbon tax starting in January if an exemption wasn't extended. Now, the reason I think that he left it for January is to give it time. People are questioning the legality of him not collecting carbon tax, but I think that was the first push to getting other provinces on board. Look, these politicians, it's like, I've said it before, it's like playing chess. And they've all been very strategic about how to move forward and pin the Liberals into a corner with their carbon tax. It looks like they've done it here. And it looks like, again, I feel like the pushback and the blowback, to the point where you have NDP willing to support a motion put forward from the Conservatives, is kind of like the beginning of the light at the end of the tunnel. It's starting to show, in my mind anyways, that this could be the start of the end. And that maybe this is where Trudeau's Teflon starts to stick a little bit, because it's burnt out. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you think the vote's going to go through? The motion will go through? Do you think that, again, this is the unraveling of the Liberals? Do you think that this is just going to be a drop in the bucket? Let me know what you guys think down below. If you're new to the channel, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're clicking that subscribe button to turn on your bell for notifications. YouTube has told me that only less than 100 people are notified when our videos drop. So make sure you have that bell clicked and turned on so you're notified whenever new videos come your way. Also join us in our streams every Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, where we talk about everything that's happened in the week prior, everything coming up in the week ahead, and also sit down with our community and have a Q&A. After that stream, and speaking of community, you can join us in our Discord. Link is down below in the description. After the streams, I do hang out in the Discord with anybody who's in my community that wants to join, where we can have a discussion and we talk about everything you guys want to talk about and the things that are important to you. I'm looking forward to seeing some new folks joining us every week as we head into those streams, and I look forward to seeing you all there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video this morning. Take care and have a great day. I'll catch you on the next one.